Welcome to the eBusiness Playbook podcast, proudly sponsored by Ocademy Global, where we help you go from theory to reality, empowering you to elevate your e-business. Join our open community at the eBusiness Playbook by Ocademy on Facebook and LinkedIn, and check out our training packages at ocademyglobal.com to find out more.
Welcome to the eBusiness Playbook, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental, a question pretty much every business owner faces when setting up online or even upgrading.
Yeah, that big decision.
Yeah.
Do you go with one of those website builders, or do you take the plunge and go for full custom development?
Exactly. And it sounds simple, right? Just pick one. But, well, as we started digging into the guide you shared on this, it became super clear how much hangs on this choice.
Oh, absolutely. It touches everything. Your budget, obviously, but also how fast you can even launch, how much real control you have, and crucially, how well your site can grow with you down the line.
It's definitely more than just tech specs. It's strategy. We've been looking at this guide that really maps out these two paths for entrepreneurs like you, laying out the pros and cons. So let's unpack what we found, maybe start where a lot of people start.
Makes sense. Website builders, the big names like Wix, Squarespace, maybe Shopify if you're mainly doing e-commerce. There are tons of them now.
Right, and they're everywhere. Seems like the go-to for small businesses, startups, maybe even someone just testing an idea like a side hustle.
And you can see the appeal immediately.
Right.
They're marketed as, fast, easy to use, get online without needing to be a coding whiz or a design expert.
Which sounds perfect if you're, say, a consultant or a local shop or maybe a direct-to-consumer brand just getting started. You need something now.
And one of the biggest things the material highlighted is, the cost. That cost effectiveness is a huge, huge draw, especially if you're working with a tight budget.
Yeah, those monthly plans look pretty attractive.
They really do. Often they include hosting, maybe some basic support, all bundled into one predictable fee. It just massively lowers that initial barrier compared to, hiring developers right out of the gate. Huge for bootstrapping.
And that cost factor ties right into the next big plus we saw, speed.
Yeah.
Like seriously fast deployment.
Oh, yeah. We're talking potentially hours or days to get something live, not weeks or months.
Yeah.
You pick a template, maybe tweak the colors, drop in your text and images using their tools.
That drag and drop interface they all seem to have.
Exactly. It means you can get a pretty professional-looking site up and running incredibly quickly. If you need to launch an MVP, test a concept, start taking bookings, or just make that first sale fast, builders are often the quickest way.
That speed is definitely tempting. And it empowers people, right? The user-friendly design means you, the business owner, can actually make changes yourself.
That's a key point. You're not always waiting on or paying for a developer just to update your hours or add a new blog post.
Yeah.
That intuitive side, the visual editors, they put a lot of day-to-day control in your hands.
And for e-commerce, a lot of them seem geared specifically for that.
Many are, yeah.
Yeah.
They often have built-in features that are pretty convenient for online retail. Setting up products, connecting payment options like Stripe or PayPal, maybe some basic inventory tracking. It simplifies getting that core online store functionality working.
Kind of an all-in-one package for selling stuff online, at least initially.
Right. Plus, you usually get access to decent help guides, maybe online forums where other users share tips, and the platform itself handles a lot of the back-end stuff. The updates, the basic security for the builder system. It definitely reduces the technical headache for the owner.
Okay, so summing up the good stuff. Builders seem to offer speed, they're relatively affordable, pretty easy to use even if you're not techie, and can get you selling online quickly. Sounds like a slam dunk for a lot of businesses.
On the surface, yeah. It's a compelling package. But as we looked closer at the potential drawbacks, things got a bit more complicated.
Let's hear the other side then. What are the catches?
Well, remember those convenient templates. That convenience comes at a cost. The material really emphasized the limited design and customization flexibility.
Meaning you can only change so much.
Pretty much. Even with drag and drop, you're working within the platform's rules, the template structure. If you want a truly unique look, something that really nails your specific brand identity or uses a very particular layout, you might struggle.
You could end up looking a bit like everyone else using that same popular template.
Exactly. A bit generic, maybe. And then there's something potentially more critical long-term. The whole issue of ownership and migration.
What do you mean by ownership? You build the site, isn't it yours?
Not quite in the same way as custom. You own your content, sure, your text and images, but the underlying code, the platform's functionality, that belongs to the builder company. and getting your site out of that builder if you need to move. That can be a nightmare.
So if you outgrow it or want to switch to something else.
Migrating all your content, your design elements, customer data, SEO history, all that stuff to a completely different platform. It's often incredibly difficult, sometimes technically impossible, without huge effort. You might basically have to rebuild the whole thing from scratch on the new platform.
Ouch. That sounds like a hidden cost waiting to happen, that lock-in factor.
It really is. It's vendor lock-in, essentially.
Yeah.
And it ties into the next point, scalability concerns.
Right. What happens when your business really takes off? You get that big PR hit, traffic surges.
Well, builders are generally fine for moderate traffic, but they might struggle under really heavy load. Remember, you're often on shared infrastructure. A massive spike could mean slow loading times, maybe even the site going down temporarily.
Which is the last thing you want when you finally get that big break.
Precisely. And it's not just traffic. What if you need more complex, specialized features as you grow? Maybe some unique integration or a really custom workflow.
Things the builder doesn't offer out of the box.
Exactly. Adding those advanced bespoke functionalities can be really hard, sometimes impossible, or you end up using clunky third-party apps that don't quite integrate properly. The platform might just not stretch the way a rapidly growing or evolving business needs it to.
So the initial simplicity becomes a limitation later on.
It can, yeah. And that leads to general technical limitations beyond just features. If you need really deep, granular control for things like advanced SEO, maybe complex marketing automation sequences, or truly seamless integration with multiple external systems like your CRM, talking perfectly to your inventory and accounting software.
Builders might struggle with that level of integration.
They often do. You might find yourself juggling disconnected systems, doing manual data entry, or paying for expensive add-ons that still don't quite give you that smooth, unified operation. If your business relies on complex, interconnected processes, a builder could create friction.
Data silos and workarounds, potentially.
Could be. And one last point the material mentioned was performance and speed. While they're getting better, builders often load a bunch of code for features you might not even be using on your specific site.
Extra baggage, kind of.
Yeah, sometimes called bloat. It can slow down your page load times. And slow sites, well, they frustrate users, and search engines like Google don't love them either. You just have less fine-grained control over optimizing every little aspect for speed compared to a custom build.
Okay, so the trade-offs for the builder route are potentially limited design uniqueness, that tricky ownership and migration issue, potential scaling bottlenecks, technical limits for advanced stuff, and maybe some performance drag.
That sums it up pretty well. They absolutely have their place, especially for getting started fast and affordably. They lower that barrier to entry like nothing else.
Absolutely. A vital tool for many. Which naturally leads us to pivot the conversation to the other path, custom development.
Right. Building it from the ground up, your way.
This is where you say, okay, I need something specific, something tailored just for me. It's really about getting maximum control and a bespoke solution, isn't it?
It really is. And the advantages here are pretty significant, starting right with that flexibility and control. It's unparalleled, really.
Meaning you're not stuck with templates.
Not at all. You work with designers and developers to create a look and feel that is 100% unique to your brand. And crucially, you build the functionality that matches your exact business goals and processes. Need a custom calculator, a unique member portal, integration with some obscure third-party API.
You can build it.
You can build it. The site can truly reflect how your business works and evolve as your needs change. If your model is unique, Custom lets you build the digital tools to match it perfectly.
So it fits like a glove, rather than trying to make an off-the-rack suit work.
Good analogy. And because it's built just for you, performance optimization is a major focus. Good developers write clean, efficient code. They only include what's necessary, cutting out that bloat we talked about.
So faster loading times.
Generally, yes. Faster loads, smoother interactions for the user. Plus, you can implement very specific technical SEO strategies right into the site's architecture from day one. That performance edge can be a real competitive advantage.
Happy users, happy search engines. Makes sense. What about growth? Builders sometimes struggle there. How does custom handle scaling?
Scalability is usually a core strength. A well-architected custom site is built expecting growth. You can use modular design, meaning adding new sections, features, or handling way more traffic down the road is much, much easier.
So you can bolt on new capabilities more easily.
Exactly. And integrating with other business-critical systems, your CRM, your ERP, marketing automation tools, whatever you use, that can often be done much more deeply and seamlessly than with a builder trying to connect through limited APIs or add-ons. You build the connections you need.
It sounds like a much more solid foundation if you have big ambitions.
It can definitely support more complex growth trajectories. And then there's security, which is, huge today.
How does custom handle security differently?
Well, you have direct control. You can implement security measures tailored to your specific needs, maybe specific industry regulations like AOPA if you're in healthcare, or GDPR compliance handled exactly how you need it.
Yeah.
You're not just relying on the builder platform's general security.
You can dictate the protocols.
You can. And you have full visibility and control over patches, monitoring, and how you respond to any potential threats. For businesses handling sensitive customer data or transactions, that direct control and ability to customize security layers is often critical.
That feels like a really important distinction, having that direct oversight.
It absolutely is for many businesses. And finally, let's talk about the cost again, but frame it differently. Yes, custom is more expensive up front, significantly so. But it's often positioned as a long-term investment.
How so? How does it save money long term?
Well, because it's built right, optimized, and scalable, you hopefully avoid that painful, expensive rebuild later if you outgrow a builder. The better performance and user experience might lead to higher conversions. Smoother integrations might save operational costs. Over the full life cycle of the site, a custom build could potentially offer better value, despite the higher initial outlay.
Okay, so the case for custom. Total design freedom, functionality tailored exactly to you, optimized performance, built to scale, enhanced security control, and potentially a better long-term investment. It sounds powerful.
It definitely can be. But, just like builders aren't perfect, custom development has its own set of pretty significant challenges and downsides we need to cover.
Let's get into those. I suspect the first one is pretty obvious.
Yep. The big one. Higher cost. Much higher, usually. You're paying for the time and expertise of skilled designers, developers, perhaps project managers, maybe QA testers.
We're not talking small monthly fees here.
No, definitely not. Depending on complexity, you could easily be looking at thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars for a complex custom build. That upfront capital investment is a major hurdle for many businesses, especially startups.
That price tag alone is a showstopper for some, and I imagine that cost is linked to the time it takes.
Absolutely. Custom development isn't quick. It's a process. You've got discovery, detailed planning, wireframing, design mock-ups, back and forth on revisions, the actual coding, testing, debugging, deployment.
So not launching next week.
Definitely not.
Huh.
Weeks, more likely months, sometimes many months, for very complex projects. If speed to market is your absolute top priority right now, custom probably isn't the answer for this phase.
That timeline is a big constraint, and the work isn't done when it finally launches, right?
Not at all. That leads to ongoing maintenance requirements. Unlike a builder where the platform company handles core updates, with a custom site, you or your team are responsible.
Responsible for what, exactly?
Keeping everything up to date. Security patches for the code, bug fixes that crop up, updating server software, making sure it works with new browser versions, updating any third-party libraries you used. It needs continuous care and feeding.
Which requires?
Technical expertise. Either you need someone on your staff who can handle it, or you need an ongoing maintenance contract with your developers or another agency. And that, of course, adds to the total cost of ownership over time. You have to budget for that ongoing upkeep.
So more cost, and you need the skills, either in-house or outsourced.
Precisely. Which highlights the general need for technical expertise. Even managing a custom project, understanding the decisions being made, requires a higher level of technical understanding than using a drag-and-drop builder. There's coding, databases, server stuff.
A steeper learning curve if you're not from a tech background.
Definitely. You'll almost certainly need to rely on technical experts, whether employees or contractors, not just for the build, but for the ongoing management, too. You're managing a tech asset.
Okay, so cost, time, ongoing maintenance, need for expertise. Any other potential pitfalls? We talked about the flexibility being a plus. Can it be a minus too?
It can, yeah. There's a potential risk of over-customization.
Making it too specific.
Kind of. While tailoring is great, if you make every little thing super unique and proprietary, you might actually make the site overly complex. This could make future updates harder, integration with standard tools more difficult, or even make it tough for a new developer to understand and take over if your original team moves on.
Interesting. So you need to find a balance between perfectly bespoke and, well, practical maintainability.
Exactly. You want it tailored, but maybe not so unique that it becomes brittle or isolated down the road.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've laid out the landscape. Builders, fast, easy, affordable start, but potential limits later. Custom, ultimate control, scalable, performant, but costly, slow, and needs ongoing tech care. It's a lot to weigh up.
It really is.
So for you listening, the business owner trying to figure this out, how do you actually make this call? How do you choose the right path?
Well, this is where you really have to turn inward and look hard at your specific situation. The guide emphasized focusing on a few key factors to bring clarity.
I'm guessing budget is right up there.
Top of the list for most, yeah. But it's not just the upfront cost. You need to think about the total cost of ownership. What are the ongoing builder fees versus potential custom maintenance, hosting, and future dev costs? Project that out a few years.
Okay, think long-term cost. What else?
Your business goals.
Yeah.
What does this website absolutely need to achieve for your business? Not just look pretty, but what functions are critical. And think future state too. What might it need in a year, 2 years?
So mapping out required features now and projected.
Definitely. Are you mainly informational? Simple e-commerce? Or do you need complex user interactions, booking systems, deep integrations, specialized workflows? The required functionality is a huge driver.
Which ties right into scalability and your long-term vision, right?
Exactly. How much growth are you realistically planning for? Will traffic explode? Are you adding whole new divisions online, shifting your model, choosing something that can actually handle that growth without forcing a painful rebuild later is key for efficiency.
Makes sense. And then practically, who's going to run this thing day to day?
Crucial point.
Yeah.
Technical skills and maintenance capacity. Do you have tech people on staff? Are you comfortable diving into the back end? Or do you need a solution where most of that complexity is handled for you? Who's patching security holes at 2 a.m.?
Good question. You need to know who's responsible.
Absolutely. And drilling down again on features, are there any non-negotiable integrations or functionalities, things that are absolutely core to how you operate or compete?
Like, if your entire business relies on a specific booking integration that only works with custom CAD.
Precisely. If something is make or break, custom might be the only way to guarantee it works exactly right. Oh, and the material also suggested testing, where possible.
Trying before you buy.
Yeah. Most builders have free trials. Use them. See if the interface feels right, if the basic features meet your needs. For custom, you can't try the finished product, but you must do thorough requirements gathering and maybe even prototyping up front to make sure everyone's on the same page before committing huge resources.
So due diligence is key, whichever path you lean towards.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
It feels like the big takeaway here is that there's no single right answer, no magic bullet.
Definitely not. It's all about alignment. Aligning the platform choice with your specific business reality.
Which really brings it back to you, the listener. Making this choice between a website builder and custom development, it hinges entirely on your unique context, your budget reality, your team's technical comfort, how fast you need to move, and fundamentally, your vision for where this business is headed online.
Are you building a quick launch pad? Or are you laying the foundation for a complex, long-term digital powerhouse?
It really forces you to clarify those priorities. You need to be honest about your needs today, but also have a realistic eye on tomorrow.
Couldn't agree more.
So wrapping this up, here's maybe a final thought for you to chew on, something that builds on that future-proofing idea. Beyond the initial build, beyond today's choice between builder simplicity and custom power, how truly adaptable is your chosen online presence?
Adaptable to what, specifically?
To the unexpected, the shifts in the market, the new technologies that pop up, maybe a competitor does something completely new online you need to respond to, or a platform like Google changes its algorithm significantly. How easily can your website pivot, integrate, and evolve when those curveballs inevitably come?
That's a great question. It highlights that your website isn't just a static brochure.
Exactly. It's a living part of your business strategy. So, thinking about that long-term agility, what does that mean for how you approach your digital foundation today? Something to consider.
Definitely food for thought.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a really crucial decision for your e-business playbook. We genuinely hope exploring these different facets helps you navigate this choice.
Hope it was helpful. Thanks for joining us today on the eBusiness Playbook.
For the complete PDF with all the insights from this episode, head over to academyglobal.com. There, you'll find the PDF, plus other valuable podcasts and resources to fuel your business growth and career success. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.